everyone. We are back for a little more paranormal. So we're out of episodes of Evil Things, so I have a new show. This show is called Believers, and it is on the Travel Channel. And I have to tell you, I watched about 4 or 5 episodes, over a 2 or 3 day period. I have to go through and write down everything that I saw and what I thought. And at one point, I turned on all the lights and I asked myself, really? Do I really want to keep doing this paranormal stuff? Because listen, I got scared. Everybody already knows I'm scared of everything anyway, but this was freaking me out. So this show, the people are believers, for goodness sakes. And some of them, they actually have video footage of the things that were going on with them or happening to them. And just watching some of it, I said, oh no, Jesus. I'm telling you, I was scared to death. So we're going to start at the beginning of this show. We're going to start with season 1, episode 1. So here we go, people. I'm telling you, if you are not a subscriber, please subscribe. Help me grow my channel by hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell and the thumbs up. Thank you. Okay, so this show breaks stories up. So sometimes you get 2 or 3 stories in an episode, and then there's some episodes, I believe you get 4. It just really depends on what's happening, the situation, and how long it takes for each participant to tell their story. So the first story starts with a guy named Jeff, and it happened throughout September of 1998. Jeff works in the film business. So he's in the movie industry, but he has a friend named Kenny who is also in the industry. However, Kenny was actually working on a separate project where he was going around interviewing certain people in their paranormal experiences. And he asked Jeff to accompany him to take still photos. And Jeff said he thought, whatever, it's something to do. And he didn't really believe. There was nothing for him to think that any of this was legit. So he grabs his camera and he hops on board to go with Kenny and, see what happens. They're going to visit a lady named Mary, who is 37 years old. And on the way there, they're laughing and joking and thinking that this woman must be crazy, but let's just get in here. Let's see what happens. Mary had told them originally that she was having some paranormal experiences at her house. She was telling them that the walls in her house were bleeding. Jeff and Kenny laughed their butts off. They thought, woman, cut the crap. Your walls are not bleeding at all. When they pull up to her house, they think, well, this is a cute little house. Nothing crazy or paranormal could be happening here, right? Jeff says that he had no idea that what he experienced with this particular job he took from Kenny would change his life forever. Jeff says as soon as he entered Mary's house, he got a creepy feeling. He said that there was a very strange stillness in the air, and he didn't feel that welcoming feeling, even though Mary was glad to see them. He says that it was also a little bit that Mary seemed to be extremely on edge, and she was very nervous, which was amping up his nervousness as well. They sit down and talk to Mary, and she starts explaining to them the strange happenings in the house.
Your house?
Yeah, this is my house. It started in the attic. There was a lot of banging and crashing. It just looked like giant orbs of light. I don't know how you explain that. I'm not really sure. And I would turn the corner and then they'd just be gone. And then the other day I came down and there was blood on the wall. At least I think it was blood. I don't really know. A man sitting in that rocking chair.
Honey, listen. As soon as she said that man starts rocking back and forth in that rocking chair at her house, I would have got my camera and left. I'm sorry, Mary. This is not the job that I took. I thought you were some nut job. I can't be here for this. That's a lot. I'm sorry, Mary. You are experiencing something that I don't want to. No. Jeff says that he's standing there listening to her thinking that this woman is absolutely crazy and that he has no idea what is going on with her. And then he says, out of nowhere, something tells him he should touch the chair. He walks over to the rocking chair to put his hand on it, and then he says, something overtook him and said, don't touch that chair. So he backed completely off. I would have backed completely to the door. After they got the story from Mary, he says they were packing up to leave, and something tells him to help Mary realize that she is, imagining this, that she's not really seeing the things that she thinks that she's seeing. So he gives her one of his cameras. He tells her whenever she feels nervous or thinks that she's seeing things or hearing things, that she should take pictures of it and then let him know once she's, taking pictures with this camera. And he thought that, he'd never hear from Mary again, probably. He thought that once she's seen the pictures, she would realize there was absolutely nothing going on in her house. Then they get back to their office and they start to play back the video footage that they took while they were interviewing Mary. And out of nowhere, Jeff notices something in the film.
Strange as hell. There was something flowing through her image. We were sitting right there the whole time and never saw anything. Yet, here it was, captured on tape. This is not normal. But of course, I tried to rationalize it.
No. If they were freaked out, I couldn't do nothing for Mary except for call Pastor Anderson. That's all I could do. Let me get somebody on the line. No, ma'am. On September 18th, 1980, after their initial interview with Mary, Jeff receives a package from Mary. She sent him the roll of film. Okay, the entire roll of film. Jeff says that when he takes the film out of the case, he says before he could even print the film out, he could see things in the print. And he said, oh, damn. He saw a whole bunch of different elements of light in the picture. And he says as a professional photographer, he knows how to make those tricks. But he knew that Mary, she wasn't a professional. She didn't know how to make these tricks in the camera. So it really freaks him out and gets him a little nervous. So he shares the pictures with Kenny. So at this point, him and Kenny are saying to themselves, wow, we guess this wasn't just Mary's imagination. Something is really happening at her house. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mary, you on your own. Thank you for these photos. Don't send me no more. And good luck with you. I can't. I mean, these people are way nicer than me. No. 3 days later, on September 21st, Jeff and Kenny return to Mary's house. They want to show her the prints. When they arrive at her house, Mary is absolutely hysterical. This woman is screaming and hollering, and they haven't even had the opportunity to show her these pictures. She is telling them that there is something in her attic. You know what, Mary? We're not going to come in. You come on out. Come on out. Yeah. Do you have anywhere else you could go, Mary? They go in, okay? They are good Samaritans, good citizens of the U.S. I don't play that. I can't come in, Mary. As a matter of fact, I would have mailed her those prints. I mean, what? I'm sorry. So Jeff decides to go up in the attic. He's going to check some things out. He wants to make sure that everything is okay for her. And when he gets up in the attic, he has his camera hanging around his neck, like a lot of photographers do. He's just going to snap some pictures while he's up there. They've already got the other fella photos with the different elements of light in it. So he's like, hey, I'm going to snap some photos up here and see what I can find. He says while he was up there snapping the photos, it felt like he wasn't alone. Like somebody was up there watching him, and he was getting a little freaked out. Then out of nowhere, honey, something grabs Jeff's camera strap. No, Jeff tried to rationalize. He said, well, maybe what happened was his camera cord that he had his camera hanging around his neck on got snagged on a nail. Jeff. No, that's not what happened. Jeff, when he comes down from out of the attic, he doesn't have his camera or anything, because that, Kenny, brave guy, he goes up into the attic to try to find Jeff's camera. He gets up there, he finds the camera, but the lens is gone. Now this isn't a pop on and off lens. This is a screw on and off type lens. So Jeff says it was at that very moment that he realized that he was now a believer and that Mary was not overreacting. Something was clearly in her attic. Now he says that him and Kenny left, but they were freaked out and they wanted to help Mary and they wanted to find out what the heck was going on in Mary's house. 6 days later, Jeff and Kenny come back to Mary's house with their friend Murray. They said they brought Murray with them because they wanted him to be an objective eye. Mary and Jeff go upstairs into the attic, and Jeff is up there looking around the attic, and lo and behold,
Keep the mic on. Keep the mic on. Jeff, here you go, buddy. Here you go. Here you go. What the hell happened? Are you okay, buddy? God. Look at his neck. Jeff, come on. What's behind your neck?
I don't know what's on my neck. All of a sudden, I feel this thing around my neck, and it's got me hanging, and it's pulling on my leg.
You were hanging?
Yeah, I was hanging.
Yeah. That's a picture. It still gives me the chills. What you don't see is I felt this force pulling down on my legs, making the noose tighten.
Kenny looks at the rope that's wrapped around Jeff's neck, and he says these are semen knots. Jeff is like, Kenny, who gives a damn? You know what I mean? Like, I just got choked the hell out of. I don't care anything about any knots. Like, Jeff was freaked out. Listen, Murray, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. Murray took some photos and said, this thing, I'm gonna take these photos and I'll meet you in the car. No, he didn't say that, but I would have left. Heck no, no ma'am. No ma'am, no ma'am, no ma'am. I would have never gone back in there. I would have never spoken to Mary again. I'm sorry, Mary. Call somebody else. Call your pastor. Call your father. Call somebody. Call Ed and Elizabeth Warren. They were alive then. Nuh-uh, call them. Call somebody with some holy water. The following week, Mary breaks her lease and moves, honey. She moved 100 miles away to Bakersfield, California. She said, I'm not playing these games. No, ma'am. And you know what? I don't blame you, Mary. Not one single bit. So even though Mary moved, Kenny and Jeff were really excited about her moving. They knew that she would be safe now that she's moved, but they were forever changed, and they started doing research on Mary's house. They needed to know what was going on at her house. It turns out that the house was built in the 1920s, and the first owner's son worked at the docks. The son was found floating in the harbor. He had a rope tied around his neck with semen knots. No, ma'am. On November 16th, 1989, 3 weeks later, in the middle of the night, Jeff gets a call from Mary all the way from Bakersfield, California, letting him know that the old man is at her new house, rocking in her chair. This old man has followed this woman to her new house. I couldn't. I would absolutely break down and lose my mind. The very next day, Jeff and Kenny go to Mary's new house. When they got to Mary's house, she said she wanted to have a seance. Ma'am, I know you're nervous and scared, but are you also crazy? No, we don't do the seance. No, ma'am. They did the seance. What is wrong with them? I have no idea, but they did it. She wanted to contact the spirits to see who this was in the rocking chair. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You don't know. I'm telling you, as soon as she brought up that seance conversation, I would have said, I'm going to sit out here in the car. Out here in the car. No. In the middle of the seance, Jeff decides he's going to jump in and ask if the man in the rocking chair is the man who died at the dock. The next thing you know, the rocking chair starts rocking back and forth. Oh, God, does the back and forth mean yes? The next thing you know, Jeff is thrown completely backwards out of his chair. That was some bad energy. No, sir. No, sir. All they hear after that is a bunch of screaming and hollering, and Mary taking an axe to that rocking chair. She beat the heck out of that rocking chair. She beat that rocking chair till it was no more. And Jeff said ever since then, Mary has had no more paranormal activity. I guess it was something about that rocking chair. I wonder if that rocking chair was in that house all along. Did it belong to the dead seaman? Like, what the heck? I don't know. Oof, that just gives me chills. I cannot. Jeff says that he believes now, and he says he doesn't wish this on anybody. And if this ever happens to other people, they'll never be the same again. And I believe him. The next story was a guy named John, and John worked security at a place called the Capitol Theater in Salt Lake City, Utah. He says that this beautiful historic theater is absolutely gorgeous. In June of 2011, John was hired to work the graveyard shift at the theater. I don't do any graveyard shifts. I'm just saying, I don't even like the word graveyard. I don't play that. The graveyard shift at the theater is covered by 2 security guards. Each guard's responsibility is to search the perimeter a couple times a night. They check everywhere, making sure that all the doors and windows are locked, except for the basement. The basement is always locked, and it's sort of a off-limits area. He says that it was a really cool job. He liked working there, and everything was normal except for one night. His partner Barnes went out on his rounds, and his partner radios him through walkie-talkie and tells him that he hears a weird sound of slamming doors coming from downstairs in the basement. And they have never heard any sounds coming from the basement ever. So Barnes decides he's going to check it out, but before he can get down there, he tells John to check the security footage and let him know if he sees anybody coming in and out of the doors for the basement. He checks the security footage and he doesn't see anything except for one little section has static. And he thought, he's never seen the cameras mess up like that before, but it was just a little bit, so it really didn't throw him at all. So they decided to both leave their post and go together to check downstairs to see if they found anything in the basement. There is no way I would have went down there. Together, not together. I would need 6 people to go. And we all needed weapons and flashlights. I can't do it.
Somebody's got to be in there. It's locked.
Someone made sure to lock it from the inside. How do you explain something like that?
Barnes, I'm gonna need to go back up to the post. I need to make sure everything's clear up there. I would not. No. Barnes, who's an ex-Marine, and you know, he's not afraid of crap, says that he's gonna go in. John says he's scared to death, but he doesn't want to look like a baby in front of Barnes, so he says, okay, call me a baby and get me a pacifier. I'm not going. Forget it. Go on in there, Barnes. I'm gonna stay out here by the door. Outside, upstairs, by my car. I said door, car door, whatever. They go in there and there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing in there except for another door that goes to the boiler room that's locked. They decide to lock the outer door and just go back to their post. On July 3rd, 2011 at 11:35 p.m., John said that they went back to normal, that he was going on his run around the building, and then all of a sudden his walkie-talkie starts making noise. He starts hearing static at first, but then he starts to hear whispers. And he thought, is Barnes playing some kind of trick? He wasn't there for it. It's 11:35, Barnes. He's down here doing his job, making his rounds around the building, and all of a sudden whispering on the walkie-talkie. He gets back on the walkie-talkie and he says, Barnes, stop playing. You know, like, I'm not in the mood for it, not tonight. Barnes is completely confused. He's thinking, what is wrong with him? He tells him, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not whispering or making static or talking to you, period. Out of nowhere, John starts to feel the breath of somebody whispering in his ear, fire. You know how fast the Roadrunner runs? That would have been me. Out the door. Take this job and shove it, because I don't work here no more. I would have ran the hell out of there so fast. they would not have, it would have just been a blurb on the screen. I would have had a total nightmare. What? Not in my ear. What? John just goes back to the post, freaked out. He gets back to the post and then he tells Barnes. Him and Barnes, there they go again. They're gonna search the premises. For what though? Something just breathed in your ear. You didn't see nobody. You just felt the hot breath and heard the word fire. We gonna go look for it. No, we not. We can go home. So they search in the building, you know, trying to find out the source for this strange voice that he was hearing. And then here they go down to the basement again. When they get to the basement, they smell smoke. I mean, serious smoke. They thought something was on fire. It was so smoky. The power of the smoke was overwhelming them.
There was this powerful blast of hot air from under the boiler room door. It just stopped. The banging, the hot air, everything just stopped. How do you explain something like that?
No. Oh, yeah. That would have been my last day. Absolute last day. Something's not right here, Barnes. I'm gonna have to quit. It has been great knowing you, great working with you, buddy. So on July 4th, 2011, John stops by earlier in the day to pick up his paycheck. And there's an old security guard working the front desk, and he's been working there for years. John had never seen him before because he works the day shift. And he tells John that he originally started working there on the graveyard shift years ago, but that he no longer goes to that building after sundown. He says, you know the building's haunted. Say what now? You know what I mean? John's like, say that again. He told him that this building was absolutely haunted because a man died in the boiler room and that his name was Richard Duffin. Back on July 4th, 1951, he died in the basement of the Capitol Theater. He says that later that night he told Barnes the whole story, and he didn't say a word about the ghost, and Barnes didn't say a word about the ghost either, but he knew they were both thinking the same thing. Him and Barnes decided to go down to the boiler room again. See, like, why do people do that? Why do you have to inspect everything? Okay, go on down there. I wouldn't. See what I mean? Honey, I'd have still been up at the post. Nope. John said that he quit that same night and has never in his life ever again stepped foot in the Capitol Theater. He said that's a beautiful theater to look at outside. See what I mean? And he said that he thinks about Richard Duffin quite often. Let me tell you, honey, no. Nope. The next story follows a deputy. His name is Michael. He lives in Alpine County, California, and this takes place on August the 14th, 1998. There's a lady named Charlene and her 3-year-old son, Reggie. They have disappeared, and they haven't been seen for 5 days. They were actually on a road trip from Stockton, California, going to Reno, Nevada, when they have since disappeared. Michael is working the graveyard shift, so he's driving around in his car, and 911 receives a call from a lady, and they dispatch the call out to him. There was a lady that says that she was en route on Route 4, and she came across a lady.
Hi, hello, I want to report something. I was driving on Route 4, and I saw someone. She was near the road.
Are you okay?
This caller says she spots this lady laying on the ground, and she believed the lady was dead, but then the lady disappears. So the deputy meets up with the woman and asks her, can you take me back to this place where you saw the lady? They go back there and nothing. Absolutely nothing. The deputy shows the lady a picture of the missing woman, and she says that was her. That was the missing lady. And the deputy is like, well, where is she now? Him and the lady joke a little bit and say, well, maybe you saw a ghost. Okay, don't play around like that. Ooh, that would have scared the hell out of me, buddy, I tell you what. Anyway, the lady went on about her business and he went on about his business because he didn't see anybody. He dismisses everything, and then at about 3:22 a.m., the missing lady's aunt calls the police station and claims to have urgent information regarding the whereabouts of her niece. They radio him. Michael goes down to the police station to talk to the woman. When he gets down there, she tells him, listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, but Charlene has been coming to me in a dream and told me where she is. Now listen, you and I both know it. If somebody came to you and said that somebody had been coming to them in their dream and told you such and such, you would look at that person like, girl, listen, have you been drinking? You know, we wouldn't believe it off the bat. But considering that some woman said they saw her earlier and everything, that would definitely strike me as odd. Like, well, what? Well, what did she say? Listen, Michael tells her, ma'am, we deal in facts around here, and you having a dream about your niece is not delivering facts to us. She tells the detective, listen to me. My niece Charlene has been coming to me in my dreams almost every single night, and she keeps telling me that she is somewhere by the number 13, and it's a wooded area. Michael is still looking at this woman like, ma'am, okay. He asked her, he said, when did these dreams start? She said about 5 days ago. And he thought, wow, that's how many days it's been since the woman has been missing, since she was reported missing. And he's like, how did she start getting these dreams about this woman that soon? He doesn't know what to do, but he takes the information and tells her he'll do everything he can. Then he starts thinking about the witness earlier. Then he starts thinking that she said the number 13. He was also thinking that the woman was actually on Route 4 when she called the police. So he starts driving down Route 4, and he says as he starts driving down Route 4, his heart starts going faster and faster, and then he starts driving faster and faster, like he was actually on a mission to get somewhere. He says something was pulling him in a certain direction. Then at 4:42 a.m. in the morning on August the 15th, arrives at Baxter's Bend. He looks at the roadside marker and there is a 13. He looks down about 60 feet and there is a car that has crashed and landed 60 feet below. He runs down to the car. Charlene is dead in the car, but her baby Reggie is clinging to life. He is in the back seat, still strapped into his car seat. He has been clinging to life for 5 days. He is rushed to the hospital in critical condition, and they are not expecting him to make it due to starvation and dehydration. But thank God he did. He survived. And the deputy says that he believes that it was her love for her son that saved him. He said, if that doesn't show you what mother's love can do, this woman was dead on impact, and her ghost kept fighting for the life of her baby. And that brought tears to my eyes. I'm like, this woman was not gonna let her baby die.
A mother's love is a powerful force. Maybe Charlene somehow reached out to her aunt through her dreams. Maybe she projected herself up the hill to the side of the road. Maybe she helped me put it all together. There were forces at work that to this day I still can't explain. If you ask me, Charlene Daniels saved her little boy from the grave.
And the doctors told them that it was a matter of a few hours before he would have been dead. If they did not find him when they found him, when they finally did find them, they would have buried both Charlene and her baby Reggie. That's amazing to me. I mean, wow. I always knew that a mom's love was for real, that a mom's love was serious. You know what I mean? But that says a lot. So that was Believers, Season 1, Episode 1, and I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, bye.